Thus, everyone is entitled and encouraged to copy and republish any part of this call of the MP3 recording and any text that I entered into the accompanying text. You do not need permission, and no notification is needed. To find more of these public domain audios, go to the top right corner of any TalkShoe.com screen and search for Vancouver or show number 120297, or click the top left Live Now button to see which show is presently underway. The time out here on the west coast of the U.S. is 10:40 a.m. on Friday, June 8, 2011. This is episode number 3001. I have on the phone with me Loco in LA, and can you hear me, and how are you today?
Yeah, I can hear you, dude. That intro's a little long. It's 10:40 p.m., not a.m.
I'm sorry, thank you. 10:40, yes, 10:40 p.m.
Yeah, so I'm going outside. I'm going to have this going as a live now security system.
I just wanted to say I couldn't log in under I couldn't use my PIN to log in under Loco in LA because it's being used in another call right now, which is not, I mean, you know, whatever.
Yeah, no, I have a question for you. It's pretty informal, but
I mean, I might have the answer depending on which question, but I'm not giving you shit.
I totally
before, and I had to learn new trends all over again.
Totally understand. I have a question. It's up to you. I appreciate. But you had me remove 3 calls that we did, and
dude,
I'm asking.
Keep harping on that. Like, you talk about this shit every time I see you. Like, yes, you removed my calls from your show.
But it's in the. But this is in the. This is in the recording, and it's never been recorded. I've never had you on a recording. This time, I'm not going to remove it. I'm just asking why you had me do that, please.
Oh, because I wanted to. That's why. So.
Okay. So what's been going on with you since those calls were in the fall of 2010, and here that was close to 2 years ago. What's new going on with you, please?
All the same shit, different day. Nothing new. It's all the same shit, different day.
You made the comment the other night that we're on different sides of the fence. What did you mean by that, please?
I just mean like I said, 75-25, maybe 25%.
So you think I am? Go ahead.
I give all these guests and all these people logged in. Maybe we might have 2 real people in here looking for valuable information. The rest of them are just fishing. I might even know at least one of them, or they might think they know everything about me. Huh.
But so
that's what I learned
what's
about
on your
these calls. It's nothing but fucking chills and phonies.
A lot of shills and phonies on these calls at TalkShoe.com that are targeted individual oriented.
If there's any real targets listening to this that's on this call, don't tell these people shit. Don't tell them a fucking thing. Don't get on these calls and think you can build trust with somebody and you can trust anybody from any of these calls with anything. You don't want everybody to know. I never did.
Let's have some more on that because I want to. I totally agree with everything. I'm sorry?
I'm not trying to elaborate on anything.
It's
cut and dry.
It's pretty cut and dry, and I am totally with Loke on that one. So what's been going on with you in the last year and a half since we've talked?
My computer, I was reading this news story earlier. This is so funny because like I said, it's real around here. Somebody, like, whatever. If they need to kick in my door and fucking see me, what they need to do. If they're going to do anything, that's what they need to do. Anyways, I had put up a story earlier about this woman that was shot. There was car fire, 11 shots into a car, and it just fucking switched to a tab all by itself. Isn't it amazing? It's good thing I did that.
But I mean, targeting-wise, in your life, what's been going on? Do you mind telling us?
Oh, chemical warfare in many ways.
So you're still being harassed?
No, I mean, yeah, but it's went more back to overt. Like, not overt, but they think they're overt. I'm seeing fucking familiar faces everywhere. They just don't know how familiar they really are.
Okay. And people are, but so they think they're harassing, but it's not bothering you very much. Is that the size of it?
Oh man, we're just like, what can you do? What can you do?
So what's new with you? What's new in the last year and a half? I haven't heard your cheerful voice in a year and a half. I'm just curious, what's new, please?
Cheerful right now.
Figure of speech.
Nothing's new. Yeah, I'm sure it might be real fucking cheerful for you. You could be getting paid real well for this conversation right now.
I promise you, I absolutely have my.
I didn't come on these calls for like at least a year, maybe more. I don't even know. I don't keep track of time. I didn't come on these calls, and I come to one call 2 weeks ago, and with my name and what did Guest 28 say? Never mind. I'll pull it up. Hold on, I'll pull it up myself. But
whatever.
Everything's muted. I come on these calls 2 weeks ago. You didn't have a show, and now all of a sudden you got a show and you're doing recordings again. Dude, you're so fucking obvious, man. Come on.
I can tell you what happened. I can tell you that in January of 2012, my show got shut down. My show number 87161, but they left the recordings, and for 4 months, I logged in, I listened, and I monitored other shows. I did not have my other show.
Let's pay attention here to the convenient timeline. Van first comes to talk to you, 2 weeks before I got on Talk Show? And then, and everybody knows my computer's hijacked. So, I mean, me getting the links that I got that brought me here to start off with, I'm sure that's no coincidence because those don't exist. You got a show 2 weeks before I come here, and you're doing recordings, and then, all of a sudden now you're doing recordings again. I'm just saying,
I can tell you that, I can tell you what spurred me to start the show.
What's been going on with your targeting?
What's been going on? Sure. What I can tell you is, by the way, I want to tell you about my show. I want to respond to what you just said. What happened was Renita had a great call up till about 3 weeks ago, and then all of a sudden she used to record, but all of her calls disappeared, and now she's under the thumb, it appears, of and her calls were really down to earth, and she recorded, and there were 5 to 7 great recordings, and now they all disappeared, and she's under the thumb of freedomschs.com.
Oh, is this the first call period?
Pardon me?
Is this your first call period? You know what? I just want to say right now that it is Saturday, June 9th at 12:47 a.m. in Louisiana. I'm looking at the chat log right now, and it says 10:53 a.m. So I don't know what's really going on with this, but
where does it say 10? I don't see that 10:53 anywhere.
I'm gonna go get off the phone, so I'm not distracted.
Where does it say 10:50?
LA, and I'm logging off at 12:47 a.m. Saturday, June 9th.
And this is Chuck in Vancouver, Washington, and I show 10:47 in Vancouver, Washington, and I have restarted my call, but I wanted to continue. I may have lost Loco. She's certainly welcome to call back in and continue. But what happened was Renita's calls went away, which I was really upset about because they were so credible, because her calls were so credible, but they all disappeared. And that is what spurred me to restart my calls. Not so much only that, but that her calls now are no longer what I would call down home. They are far-fetched. And Loco just typed into the chat room chatgrabber.com. So you can enter chatgrabber.com and enter this call number 120297. And then select out this date, which would be the top one, and you can listen to this recording. That is the end of this recording. We're going to click the end button. And I don't know.
Talk show. Recorded live.
Hello, my name is Chuck. My nickname is Van or Vancouver, Washington, U.S. Welcome to Talk Show number 120297 at TalkShoe.com. Anything said will go into the public domain. Thus, everyone is entitled and encouraged to copy and republish any or all of this MP3 recording file. You do not need permission, notification, or attribution. To find more of these public domain audios, go to the top right of any TalkShoe screen and search for Vancouver or 120297, or click on the top left to see if the show is live now. The time out here, and I should have had this ready to go. The time out here on the West Coast is 10 after 12 a.m. on Tuesday, June 12, 2012. And I have on the phone with me Louis Ewing, who also has a Talk Show number. Louis, can you give us a real short description of your Talk Show, real short description of your Talk Show, and what do you have to say?
My Pro Se Winners Talk Show is just a group of individual pro se litigants. Lloyd Smith, Kurt Riggin, Matt from Michigan, Michael James Anthony. These are guys that have a track record of winning cases without an attorney. That's what pro se is.
Okay, and let's leave it at that. Now, the real question that we just talked about was your issue with your daughter, and can you give us a rundown of what happened? Conspiracy theories and all, please.
My daughter allegedly died of sudden infant death syndrome, which I think is total bullshit. There's no such thing as coincidence. I do not believe in coincidences. I believe that my daughter died as a severe allergic reaction to erythromycin, which for some reason...
And how do you spell that real quick? How do you spell that real quick so that people can Google it or what have you, please? That's right. That's right.
Right there on the board.
Continue on it.
There it is. There it is right there on the board, erythromycin. Erythromycin.
Okay, spelled ERYTHROMYCIN. And now please continue.
Erythromycin is a synthetic antibiotic. And what I discovered is you're not supposed to use erythromycin unless you have an established and proven allergic reaction to penicillin, which is a natural antibiotic.
Now, you talked something about slow acting and fast acting, and where the one is they can give you a shot, and another is they can rub it in. Go ahead and let's have that. I'm trying to keep this interview moving, please.
Well, Russian Jews are known. Their scientists are known to have perfected slow-release poisons, undetectable poisons, and they introduced the erythromycin by rubbing a small amount in her eyes. And I talked.
Now, how do you know that? I'm sorry, I'm being a pill here, but I'm just saying, how do you know that? Were you there? Go ahead.
Yeah, I had just barely walked in because I just got back to the hospital from visiting my boys who were being babysitted while my ex-girlfriend was at the hospital. And when I walked in and I started talking to her, all of a sudden the doctor came in behind me, was examining the baby, and all of a sudden I turned to look at him again because, like, why was he, like, spending so much time? And he was rubbing something in her eye, and I yelled at him to stop. What was he doing? And he said, it's no big deal. It's just an antibiotic. And I said, she doesn't need an antibiotic. She's not sick. And now
you're one of these guys that wanted, let's hear the one about the birth certificates, about your previous two children who got out of the hospital without names. And let's hear that, please.
I got both my sons, little Louis Jr., and Phoenix. I got both of them out of the hospital without giving the hospital names. I got no birth certificates, no fingerprints, no thumbprints, no nothing.
This is what, a couple of 3-4 years before the other?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And why did you do that? That's because you're one of these guys that doesn't. Go ahead.
I don't believe in having state issued IDs. I don't need the government's permission to exist. I don't need the government's registration of my name. and I have a right to my privacy. My sons haven't committed a crime, so there's no need for them to be booked into jail and be fingerprinted and footprinted and birth certificated and registered in any kind of index whatsoever. It's none of the state's business.
And how many years ago was this, please? And let's not give any names. Let's not give any names of any hospitals or anything else.
Yeah, she died.
But how many years ago was this, please?
This was on June 9th, just 2 years ago.
Okay,
she died 29 days later, and her eyes were red. Her eyes were red and inflamed, and the hospital told us
when she died, and so they were red and inflamed in the hospital, or when she died, please.
From the day that they rubbed that stuff in her eye, her eyes wouldn't stop hurting. She always rubbed them, and then the redness.
And she was just an infant.
She was just an infant. The redness went away in one eye, but it didn't go away in the other eye. And 29 days later, the hospital told us that she died as they believe it's a severe allergic reaction to anaphylactic shock. I mean,
okay.
And she died of anaphylactic shock as a severe allergic reaction to the erythromycin.
Okay, and now I'm so sorry to bring this up, but I heard you telling this story the other night, and now you feel that this might have something to do with you. The reason. Tell us the targeted individual implication of what you just described, please.
Well, I'm a government resistor. I drive with no license. I distribute flyers that teaches people how to drive without a license, no insurance, no seatbelt. You can smoke pot legally.
So you're on the. You've annoyed them big time.
Oh, I'm a big annoyance to the state. I mean, yeah. They don't like
here in the state of Washington.
They don't like people. Cops call people like me a constitutionalist or a patriot or a freeman because I drive without a driver's license.
Now, does anything else happen? Is there any other reason? Now, we've got two examples. One is that you drive without a license. One is that your youngster died. And is there any other reason why you might be considered? Why you may have provoked them? Targeting wise, please.
In 2004, Kurt Riggin and I beat the largest marijuana case in the state of Washington ever won by a pro se litigant. Kurt got busted for multiple felony counts of manufacturing marijuana. We're talking 166 pot plants, all over 6 feet tall, the best purple bud you'd ever smoked in your life. We beat it.
Okay, we don't need. Okay, and any other reason why you might have provoked the law, please? Any other reasons?
Because in their eyes, in their eyes, we practice law without a license. We are not attorneys. We are not members of the bar. We never went to law school, and they can't have that. They can't have people who are not members of the bar.
Okay. Any other examples of things that you have done to really annoy them, to really get under their skin? State.
I've stopped 4 major tax trials on 3 different federal circuits.
Okay, now you're making some pretty big accusation that we're making. That I believe it was an accusation. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that we're talking about potentially they intentionally killed your daughter, or they did that on purpose so that it would happen sometime later. Correct me if I'm wrong.
No. The one other thing they're mad about is when I had my first son at the hospital, little Louie, my ex-girlfriend tested positive for drugs, and they actually had plans to kidnap Louie, and they arrested him for 72-hour hold, and then another 72-hour hold. They tricked her into signing away her parental rights, and then they took our son, down to what's called a PIC facility, where...
How do you spell that? P-I-C? How do you spell that, please?
P-I-I-C.
P-I-I-C, a facility. Okay, and what is that, please?
That's a place where I've discovered that they sell babies for $150,000 to $250,000 to Canadian citizens.
Okay.
And this thing is owned by an LLC.
Yeah,
in Washington.
let's not give any names because I'm trying to keep my show here from without getting sued, and we haven't used any names of any doctors.
Right.
But
right.
Are you saying that they literally? What else do you have to say about this PIIC facility? Without giving their name.
They fraudulently claim babies are drug addicted, and they pump them full of morphine, even though they're not drug addicted, to give the appearance.
Now, how do you know they pump them full of morphine? How do you know that, please?
Because they did that to my son.
And how do you know that, please? I'm asking a tough question, but I'm just asking you to go with me, please.
Because the doctors and the nurses told us that's what they do to all the babies that go to a PIC facility.
So they pump them full of drugs in these PIC facilities so that it demonizes their parents.
Yeah, to cover up the tracks that maybe that the kids didn't test positive for drugs. And so if you try to go test later, they're going to test positive for drugs, and they're going to say, oh, no, the babies were drug addicted when they came here, and we had to put them on morphine to bring them down from drugs. But all the nurses at the hospital said, my baby was healthy. It showed no sign of drug addiction. My baby boy was 10.5 pounds when he was born.
Okay, now I'm telling you, I've gone out on a limb here, and I hope I haven't risked the show, but we haven't given any doctors' names, any hospitals or anything like that. But do you have any other hand grenades that you want to throw before we terminate this interview, please?
They assigned a German Jew police officer named Teresa Berg who failed to investigate that.
Okay, hang on. Let's keep the religion out of this, please. Thank you. But please continue.
Yeah, well, they assigned that particular lady who refused to investigate the doctors. She didn't investigate the warning labels on Tyson packages.
On what kind of packages, please?
I found out that the warning label on
how do you spell that?
Warning, like a warning label. She refused to investigate the warning labels on the erythromycin. She failed to ask the doctor if he read the warning labels.
She was essentially okay. Any other hand grenades you want to throw before we end this off?
You're not supposed to give erythromycin to newborn babies.
Okay. Do you have anything else? By the way, why don't you give the Talk Show the number of your show before we end off here? What is the show number, please? I don't have it in front of me.
Yeah, hold on. It'll take me a second to grab it out of my computer. I haven't actually memorized it yet.
Okay. Once again, this is... go ahead.
My little girl was poisoned.
Okay, we're killing this conversation here. That's right. Let's leave it off. Do you have anything else that you want to say before we terminate this interview?
No, I'm just going to post...
well, let's not post it. Let's see. If you know what the number is, let's say it on the recording, because a lot more people are going to hear it on the recording.
120418.
Okay, so the Talk Show number 120418 is Louis Ewing's show, and that's called what again, please?
Pro Se Winners.
Okay, and you're on, when is it presently on, please?
Every Friday at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Okay.
Anything else that you want to say before we call this recording to an end?
No, I'm good, thanks.
Okay, Louis, this is the first time I've talked to you. I've heard you a number of times on various shows. Thank you. Once again, my name is Chuck, and this is the end of the recording.
Recorded.
Hello, my name is Chuck. My nickname is Vancouver, Washington, USA. Welcome to Talk Show Now, TalkShoe.com, show number 120297. This show is being recorded, and anything said will go into the public domain. Thus, everyone is entitled and encouraged to copy and republish any or all of this MP3 recording file. You do not need permission No notification or attribution is necessary. To find more of these public domain audios, go to the top right corner of anytalkshoe.com screen and search for Vancouver or show number 120297, or go to the top left live now, click on that. The time out here on the west coast of the U.S. is 4:25 p.m. on Thursday. June 14, 2011. I have on the phone with me Puri Dealana. We haven't spoken since December 25, 2010. How's it going?
It's going pretty good.
All right. And so you called out of the blue. What inspired you to call in, please?
Yeah, I just had a feeling that you'd be on, and I was correct. You were on, so and I haven't gotten on talk show in ages.
So now, are you still living down in the panhandle of Florida near Elgin Air Force Base?
Relocating.
You've relocated.
But yeah.
Okay. Now, we were talking about this interview number 1067 on TalkShoe call number 87161 that we did on December 25 of 2010. Mm-hmm. What do you have to say about that?
Well, I haven't been messed with those aircraft quite in some time. So no, that incident, they stopped doing that. At least to me, those are drone aircraft, small drone aircraft that were unmanned, dark green, and they were actually engineered by an off-branch of engineering students that some of them intern at a corporation called Suns Microsystems, which is a computer technology system.
How do you spell that? Suns, S-U-N-S? How do you spell that, please?
Microsystems.
Oh, S-U-N-S.
Like okay. Suns Micro, M-I-R-C-O. System,
okay,
S-Y-S-T-M-S system.
What else do you have to say on? Okay, you were talking and doing
nothing,
so great. Go ahead.
Nothing much. I haven't been harassed by necessarily any technology as far as mainly what they've been using is laser lights, all that stuff. I will say that I do actually have evidence of, and I have kept with me in a plastic baggie. One time when I walked, this was a while ago too, maybe about a year ago. I don't know. Somewhere around then, I actually found a small microchip on the ground about the size of half your fingernail or your big thumb fingernail if you're looking at it. And I actually have it saved, and I actually have pictures uploaded, and I actually still have the evidence with me. And I cut the chip in half, and you can actually see where the copper is and all that stuff. And I found it on the ground during one of my runs to the entrance of the EOD base.
Okay, tell me more about this. Tell me more about this this aircraft that was stalking you. As I recall, you were like a block outside of Elgin Air Force Base in the Florida Panhandle.
It was Eglin Air Force Base, and it's off branch of Eglin Air Force Base. It's not actually.
How do you spell that? E-G-L-I-N?
E-G-L-I-N, yes. And it's off branch of that. It's an off branch of that, which is actually an EOD base. They actually have a bridge that they put up now over that before the entrance of the base because they're doing highway reconstruction. That's a whole different story altogether. But yes, during that time period, before any of that was going on, you have neighborhoods that run along that strip called Range Road. And you have neighborhoods that run along that.
What was the name of that road, please?
Range Road.
R-A-N-G-E. Okay, please continue.
And anywho, the neighborhood, about the fourth one down, is where it's about 9 to 11 something at night, whatever those times were. That's when I had one of the aircraft hovering right beside me on my left shoulder, and it was literally in an entrance to one of the neighborhood streets. And yeah, anyone could have seen it, but no one did. But yeah, it was.
But they were, as you put it, they were showing off their toys or something like that.
Yeah, they were showing off their toys. Now I think they have had repercussions as far as FFA go and all that good stuff because they have not.
As far as say that again, there's been repercussions. How so? Please repeat.
Because the FAA, which is a Federal Aviation. So that's why I think they've kind of shut those down. I haven't seen any of those types of aircraft or drones or anything like that being shut off. Now I have seen laser lights from those previous incidences. That hasn't happened, but more in the future they have had different types of laser lights shown. But other than that, no, I haven't been really harassed in that manner, and I've been once I kind of left that area, it was pretty good. Besides the people trying to come up to me and ask me, people that I know weren't necessarily that good for me, trying to come in and find things about me. Like, for example, I was with someone of special ops, and I'm like, well, why would someone like that want to be with someone like me? Not to say I'm, like, that boring of a person, but at the same time, you got, I know those people, and they got better things to do And so for someone to make that decision, I knew that I was being watched, and intel was assessed. And the guy even said he was in intelligence, and I'm like, oh, fucking great, because they're in units. Special ops, you happen in units. A group of 12 people to one group. However, that doesn't happen. It's usually 7 to 9 because they're short-handed, and you have everyone that knows all the basic knowledge. But at the same time, you have everyone in the group that's specialized. You have one intel person, one weapons person, one communications person, and so forth. So you have like Echo, Fox, all that good stuff.
But you weren't just something the cat drug in. Your dad was Air Force officer or something like that, as I recall, or what was,
I won't give
what was the deal?
on that. I won't give it too much information on that because I don't want to drag other people into it. But yes, it was a pilot, to say the least. But yeah.
Okay, so that might be one reason why they're stalking you. What would you call it? Stalking, surveillance? What do you call it?
I would call it surveillance. I mean, I had been left alone for a while. I do consider myself a psychic, and I do think that has something to do with it. I have been approached by military before at a metaphysical event to literally ask me questions come out of nowhere. I was harassed one time at a metaphysical event a few years ago by a man and a woman, both in their middle ages, both Caucasian but not pale. One was 6 foot. The woman was like 5'4", 5'5" maybe. She had dark brown hair, almond eyes, and the guy had like gray bluish eyes and dirty blonde hair. And they boxed me, and they started questioning me. They came out of nowhere, and he was asking.
They boxed you in on the road in your vehicle or on foot?
In the metaphysical event, when I was the metaphysical event was inside, so I was actually with 2 friends, and we were just having a fun, time, whatever.
So here we are. You were down in Florida, and they had some metaphysical event down there. Was that primarily
they have one every
military
year.
related, or what was it?
No. It's a metaphysical event. It's like not military related whatsoever. It's a metaphysical event, which means you have things like alternatives such as Reiki and stones and psychic readings, aura pictures, people that make jewelry. I mean, a bit of everything.
Now, do you believe in all that stuff and those psychic readings? Do you believe in all that stuff?
Okay, let me put it this way: you have like any field, you have the genuine people and you have the con artists. Believe me, there's a ton of psychics out there that are full of bullshit and con artists, and there's also some really good ones. I know ones that work with FBI. I know ones that have nice jobs and do what they do. So believe me, there's really legit ones out there, and then there's ones that are full of shit. And it's just wading through all of that. And you got to think about it like this. Everyone has the ability to be quote-unquote psychic. That's not knowing what number from 1 to 10 you're going to pick. It's a lot more complicated than that. But, for example, you have kids that play soccer. A lot of people can play soccer, but it's to what degree? So you have kids that are playing soccer recreationally for fun. That's one thing. Then you have people that are on the varsity team, so they're a little bit better. Then you have people that are on the college team, a little bit better. And then, of course, you have the professionals. So
okay, but we're getting into the psychic thing.
So, yeah.
Some of it might be.
It's a metaphysical event. The metaphysical festival has a lot of different people. It brings a lot of different people together.
How many people were there? 100, 1,000? How many people were there?
I would
a dozen?
say definitely a few hundred at that time. So, like I said, it's a pretty.
And what city was this in? What city is this in?
I won't say what city, but I will say that it was in Florida at the time.
And how did you happen to be invited to it? Do you mind telling us?
It was an
Once again, this is a public domain interview. This is public domain, unedited. Anybody can have it. So it's up to you on what you want to disclose.
Yeah, this was an open venue. You had to pay, but it was an open venue other than that. So anyone can get in. Now, some of the other ones I've been invited to other metaphysical and psychic events, which you cannot just be invited in. I mean, you cannot just come in. You have to be invited in, premier groups, if you want to call them that, for lack of a better term.
Now, why do you suppose you were invited? Because it's fairly well known, I'm guessing, that you're a psychic?
Yes, partially. However, I don't do readings or anything like that. Now, at that time, years ago, no one knew really what I did besides my family and a few close friends, and even then, people only knew if I did a reading on them. But I still don't do readings for the general public. I go up to people and tell them what they need to tell them, but I don't put my name out there, so to speak. But anywho, these 2 people, my friends were getting their aura picks done, and I was standing by the white table waiting for them. And there was a wall behind me, and these 2 military personnel, like I described earlier, came in, on the right-hand side through a door, and they literally just came right to me, saw the orb pick in my hand, and said, "Oh yeah, you got this done. We're getting to get this done too."
What about your hand? What was that? What they shook your hand? What was it?
An orb picture in my hand. It was something.
What does that mean? Orb picture? Help me out, please.
It's a type of, basically, when it's at one of these events, it's a machine, and it basically takes your picture and the colors behind you and all that stuff, and it's your aura. But I won't get into that.
Oh, aura.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. So anyhow,
okay.
I just did it because I knew my friends. You know, I wanted them to have a good time, whatever. So I got that done. I was just waiting for them.
Sure. Now, getting back into the targeting part of this, we talked on December 25, 2010, and we talked about this issue, and you had a number of examples. What examples do you have about that sort of thing that may have happened to you since that call, please?
Yes, hang on. Okay, so back to what I was saying with the two military individuals that came up out of nowhere. And he didn't ask my name. He didn't say, "How were you?" There was none of that type of conversation. He literally, after he asked about the orb pick, saying, "Oh yeah, I'm going to get it done," whatever, which they didn't because I saw them leave after they questioned me. He said, "Okay, how long have you been able to read people? How often do you read people?" He just started asking me a slew of questioning.
How old was this guy? I mean, was he 20? Was he 60?
I told you, they were in their 40s. They were in their
40s,
middle
okay.
age. So, and I already gave you their description. But
Sure.
They were in full uniform too, and they didn't have any conception of space because they were like an inch in front of me. They're using an authoritarian tactic by their uniforms and the lack of space. But I kept calm and I answered their questions, and then I asked, and then I was like, well, fuck, this guy's asking me all these damn questions. I need to ask one back. So I was like, okay, well, he was like a captain of ranking of some sort. I don't remember, but I asked him point blank, since he was asking me all these crazy questions. I said, well, then, with your abilities, you know, do you manipulate your soldiers to do things, basically? And without hesitation, this guy said point blank, he told me straight up that, of course, yeah, I manipulate my soldiers, da-da-da-da-da. And I was like, what the fuck? And then, you know, after that, he walked off and disappeared. And the woman didn't
put
say
an
anything.
end to that conversation.
Yeah.
All right, and that was how long after December 25, 2010, when you and I last spoke, please? Do you recall, or is that open?
I want to say.
Give or take.
I want to say that was maybe March of the. Well, actually, maybe that was before. I'm not sure. I'd have to go look back in my logs.
No, it's okay. That's okay.
Ago.
It was in the first quarter.
Ago. But I will tell you that lately, like I said, the only thing that's happened lately from previous to now would be the microchip that I found that I still have.
And you mentioned that microchip off the air. Why don't you briefly discuss that and how you think it applies, please, on the tape?
Microchip I found when I was actually jogging, and it was before I got to the base, and it was actually like covered to where it looked like it would be just dirt, but then I saw, it's kind of shiny. So it actually has, it's like I said, very, very small, like half of your big fingernail if you were to take it. It's round, it's circular. It had a brown strip that went around the circumference, and then the top was like a copper color with 3 rings. And then when I cut it open, you could actually see the green chips on the inside with the copper wire running through it. I actually have pictures, and I also have it, like I said, still in a plastic bag. And at the time when I was dating this, well, whatever you want to call it, special ops person, they were special, all right. No, just kidding, special ed. But no, I asked him. I actually showed it to him, and I said, well, can you tell me what this is? And he's like, yeah, it's like a chip of some sort. And well, I said, you know, well, what is it? Who can I send? And he's like, I really don't know. Maybe you should send it to is it CID or DIC or something? Basically the Army equivalent of investigations for these sort of things. Of course, because they were Army. But it was just retarded. I was like, really? No one knows what the fuck this is? So, I mean, everyone knew it was a chip of some sort because of the holes and all that, but no one knew.
Didn't look like it came out of your average PC or anything like that, huh?
No. I mean, even he didn't know what he was, and he was a weapons expert, but turns out these people don't do the same thing. They don't even pick out their damn bullets anymore. They have people in the, like, it used to be the snipers that pick out their own bullets and all that, but now they actually have people that specifically their job is to pick out the certain types of bullets for the soldiers and all that. So times have changed with what people have to be knowledgeable of and what they don't So it's quite interesting in that respect.
So what else may have happened targeting-wise since December 25 to 10 when we last spoke?
Just random people coming up to me. Even the house I'm moving into, it turns out FBI used to live there. And I've had other types of interesting individuals come up to me, whether they are military, whether they, for example, one of the other people I knew, I met him randomly, and turns out his step brother is really high up in the DOD, which, if you don't know what that is, it's the Department of Defense. And he was talking about all this different technology and how they have a satellite, and how his step brother actually let him use one of the satellite things because he was an aircraft mechanic, and let him use one of the satellites. So some
aircraft mechanic is got access to a satellite, or what's that about now?
Well, yes, because not access to it necessarily, but his step brother let him play with it for like not that long. I mean, just like for one thing. I mean, they were watching him when he was doing it, but it was a satellite basically because he's like, okay, step brother, who was like one of the high people up in the DOD, and the guy was like, okay, well, how good are your satellites? And the stepbrother's like, well, I can show you how good our satellites. And he's like, what do you want to see? And he's like, if you could view anything, what do you want to see? And he's like, my next door neighbor's house, which was kind of funny. And so they actually zoom in not only to the next door neighbor's house, but they can zoom in to the driveway, to the car, all the way to see the plate tags clear as day. So the technology they have is quite amazing, and what they haven't released out to the public yet. And just all these people, some of the high-profile people that I'm running into, is like uncanny, to say the least. So it's kind of being wary of that, I guess you could say.
Now, your parents were your father, I think you said, had a high-ranking position. Do you think they did anything with you to give you special powers, or do you think it just?
No, I don't think that. I think it's just the way it is. My aunt was very gifted in that sense. I think it's not. There's no rhyme or reason for it, at least as far as I know. But no, I don't think they did anything as far as that goes.
Okay, and now I've seen you around maybe once or twice, hardly to believe, since you quit hanging around here in early 2011. What? Based on what you know, and you do seem to know a lot more than most of us do, what do you have to say to targeted individuals? What do you have? What advice do you have to give, please?
Well, keep strong, know your sources, document. If you want people to believe you, you better have good documentation. Keep all the evidence, document from times, all that. Don't let it get to you. I know people go crazy, but really, you need to build your own strengths and your own networking community. The more surface area you can cover and the more public you make yourself, that's having the right friends, having the right family, and really getting support. I mean, not going crazy with it, but just letting them know you're okay. You have to have a lot of these people, they get themselves in bad situations because they're unemployed. They're kind of just staying as a hermit, which fine, but you're also letting yourself access to easy target, because people are less likely to mess with you when you're out in the public eye, because people are going to see it. People are going to note it. Like, for example, if you you abducted someone that had no contacts, no one might call in a report until 3 weeks later because no one knows that person. So They don't know that Bobby is missing. Whereas if you have someone in the community, goes to work every day, eats at X restaurant, sees family or grandma every week, and that person doesn't show up, you better believe that there's going to be calls within the hour or something pretty fast. So
but in your case, you've definitely been targeted, but in a different sense. You've had like highfalutin intelligence sources asking you questions, and they don't always identify themselves, I guess. Is that right?
Well, to an extent. I think some of them identify themselves, and most of them are pretty blunt. It's knowing, at the end of the day, you just got to know that everything you say is public, and that you got to be okay with that, and you got to don't have any dirty laundry hanging out there, and you won't really have an issue. The thing is the truth definitely is helpful, and if you can be blunt and honest with these people and say, hey, this is what it is, this is what it isn't, and know when to shut a conversation off with these people and just walk the F away, then you're gonna be fine. Really, you will be. And I don't, even if you have a lot against you, it still doesn't matter because there's a lot of people in history. Take, for example, Harriet Tubman. She's the honest, she, of course.
What was that name again, please? I missed that.
Harriet Tubman.
Harriet
Tubman.
Okay, you mind spelling that, please?
Harriet Tubman. Remember the slave that underground tunnels?
Okay, all right. Anyway, go ahead, please.
But what I'm saying is, she went against the tide. She was a woman, she was black, and she freaking let slaves, she helped them escape to the north, and she was a spy. People don't know that a lot about her, but she was actually a spy. So she did all these things against the common societal norms. So at the end of the day, it's just all about what you believe you can do, no matter what the majority of society is thinking, because quite frankly, that just does not matter overall. And that's the advice that I have to give the PIs.
Okay, now we've been on like 20 minutes. You know that this show is primarily about targeting and targeted individuals, TIs. Mm-hmm. And do you have anything else that you want to say to that audience, because they're going to be listening to this recording?
Worry a reasonable amount, but don't over worry. The moment that you start going like super X to the 10th exponential power paranoid, you're just letting yourself fail, quite frankly. So I believe that you can have a healthy bit of anxiety, but don't let that supersede your own health benefits. Otherwise, you're just going to be drowning. So remain calm, unless you think someone's going to kill you, then, if you think someone's going to kill you every day, what's the point of living, quite frankly? Because then what is the point, I ask you? So,
okay. Once again, anybody who's listening in, I encourage you to go to talkshoe.com, show number 87161, and find recording number 1067. It was recording with Pura Delana is her pseudonym, and it was very interesting. And it talks about weird UFOs. And what was interesting, by the way, is at the end that was my last interview for about a month and a half. That TalkShoe shut down shows. I don't know if it's related. God knows why it happened. Anything last that you want to say, Puri, before I told you I'd keep this interview fairly short, and I thank you for calling in. But anything that you want to say before I push the end button?
That's it.
Okay, Puri, thank you for showing up. Thank you for consenting to an interview. I'm going to go ahead and hit the end key and do that right now.
Recorded live.
Hello, my name is Chuck, nickname Van of Vancouver, Washington, USA. Welcome to TalkShoe.com, show number 120297. This show is being recorded, and anything said will go into the public domain. Thus, everyone is entitled and encouraged to copy and republish any or all of this MP3 recording file. You do not need permission. No notification or attribution is necessary. To find more of these public domain audios, go to the top right corner of any TalkShoe.com screen and search for Vancouver or show number 120297. Or click the top left button to see if it is live now. The time out here on the West Coast is 5:05 p.m. Today is Tuesday, June 19, 2012. I have with me on the phone right now Jeff of Chelsea, Massachusetts, and he is going to interview me, and I'll leave it open the door. How are you, Jeff? And the ball's in your court.
Not a problem. It's the first time I ever interviewed somebody, and though I don't have my own show, this will be like me having my own show, and I'm going to interview Chuck from Vancouver, Washington. Chuck, how are you doing?
I'm hanging in there, and I'm looking forward to this hardball interview. I've interviewed you a couple of times on my old show, number 87161 at TalkShoe.com, but this is the first time on this show that I've been interviewed.
Okay. Now,
sorry for the long answer.
No, that's fine. Let me start off with the basics. And another inspiration I have is I might reread some or all of the questions I talked about in the chat room to get it on recording, though, so people can think about it. But first, we're going to start off with the basics, the roots. Everything in life has roots. Trees have roots. when you're looking at a problem, you always have to get to the root of the problem. So, Van, do you think your gang stalking was a result of the workplace, and what kind of work do you do or used to do?
I used to do computer type stuff. I was workplace mobbed. I do believe that my mobbing or harassment precedes that by many, many years. I do believe it runs in the family. I do believe that cousins in other words, I believe it goes potentially, in my case, my gang stalking and harassment may go up to the grandfather level.
Wow.
I cannot prove that. They don't send you registered letters about that. I'm just guessing. I've seen certain incidences in the family that I believe that's the case.
Wow. I figure we at least established the foundation and the workplace mobbing. And so forth, because once people know the testimony, because there is always a common thread among people who are gang stalked, and I'm not going to ask you for dates and so forth, because that would be irrelevant.
You can ask anything. The worst it's going to have, you can ask me anything, say anything, do anything.
I know.
That you feel like. All I can do is say no, thank you.
No problem. So what kind of things happened to you when you were workplace mobbed?
Happened later on, like within a year before I left. People, I would say 2 or 3 people were always in my area, in a harassing, and I didn't put it together. A couple of people that I worked with were involved with it. Once again, I didn't put 2 and 2 together. This is actually the first time I've ever talked about that situation, and they would deny it. I'm just telling you, one thing that you learn when you are harassed is that it went back before you started to think about it, and I didn't really start thinking about the harassment until they went quote unquote overt. In 2000, in like April of 2006, but now I'm talking about 1997, that it may have gone that far back. And also, there was time back there in the 90s where I had a cop living across the hall from me, where I lived. And just recently, a few months ago, I moved from a place that had a cop that lived right next door to me. And the guy before him died in the apartment, believe it or not. So when things like that start to happen, when odd incidences, let that raise the red flag. Maybe you're marked. Maybe something is going to come later. I'm giving you long answers, but please continue, Jeff.
No, I'm listening. But okay, now you say that this goes back to your grandfather. Was your
Possibly. I say possibly. You're not going to get a registered letter. You're not going to ever know for sure.
I know. I mean, I'm not 100% positive of how it happened to me, but I have ideas, and the video gang stalking it's on BMO. That guy is right on. But my question is, do you think your dad or your grandfather was part of a politically incorrect group, whistleblowers, angered the wrong person? The usual stuff.
You just don't know. And by the way, I do want to respond to the one that Jeff was referring to as http://vimeo.com/18103-517. That's a 20-minute audio video. I have never talked to the guy, and I just gave that so people can listen to that. Anyway, I don't know why. I just heard so many times in answer to your question. I don't know how it comes about. It just, when you become marked, you don't know it right away. You do finally catch on, but if it starts to happen to you earlier in life, things that used to happen, they catch up with you after a while. It's not necessarily anything I did wrong. If it's something that happened a couple of generations ago, I would not know It's not anything that I did to bring this on. I think that's important for TIs, for targeted individuals, to understand that it's not necessarily because you did something wrong.
Oh, okay. Because I figured they'd be talking the dinner table, stuff like that. But and anyways, let's go forward.
Sure.
When you became overtly stalked, were you able to find a regular job afterwards, or do you work mostly for yourself?
I was already working for myself when I became overtly stalked. That's when they really went overt in April of 2006. But they had actually started like maybe a couple of years earlier than that. Weird things started to happen to the point where even the woman that I was living at just wanted to argue about it. Well, people argue anyway. It's just a weird thing started happening. Things that happened. I was living in my RV at the time. I had to like move the RV like regularly. When things like that start to happen, that's something to think about. I had that RV parked in like 4 or 5 spots, by the way, and just something to think about. When those types of things start to happen, it might be a clue, and just wake up to the fact that maybe there's more to the story than just bad luck.
Well, the definition of science is that for something to be a science, it has the same procedure has to be repeated, and you have to get the same result using the same technique. That's science. So when a person's being really gang stalked, you know it because there's a whole bunch of people doing the same thing, using the same tactic, getting the same result, which is driving you batty.
And the gang stalking, though, per se, what I would call it, they went great guns back in April of 2006. The dogs came out. I mean, it was happening at the store, like 4 to 5 different times at the store. It was happening when I go to the video store. People, prior to that, people pulling out in front of me all the time. God, it was to the point where they call it sensitization, I think.
Yeah.
Where, honest to God, people who would be riding with me in my vehicle would make the statement, "Man, you are so careful of a driver." Well, the reason I'm careful is because people are pulling out in front of me, and you just think that's the way it is.
Oh yeah, you were getting the verbal sensitization. I get more of the visual sensitization, but it's still the same thing. It's to sensitize you to a certain stimuli, and then when they do it, it's basically we're keeping an eye on you. So that's.
I wasn't thinking though that people were keeping an eye on me as people were pulling out in front of me. It was a lot of times at one intersection or a couple of intersections, people pulling out in front of me all the friggin' time. I go, wow. It's like every time I come here and you don't get it. Well, just be it known. Let that lodge in your memory if anybody is listening in. That may be a clue of things to come.
Yeah, well, that's a good point, and also too, I think it's gonna be more overt. But let's see here. So at least you're making money to pay your rent, so that's a good thing.
That helps.
You know what else too is the secrecy. Why do you think there's so much secrecy with this? Because you do have Russian defectors, you do have defectors that come from communist and Islamic bloc countries. What makes this so secretive that your average Joe on the street would want to do this?
Yeah, I don't know. I've only known. By the way, I started to be overtly stalked. I mean, like I said, the dogs came at me, and I'm getting to your question, but the dogs came at me in April of 2006. It was 4 years later, in May 2010, that I finally discovered the term organized stalking and gang stalking, and I finally started to YouTube those. So I've only known about this issue of organized gang stalking for 2 years. So yeah, absolutely, it's a secret. It took me 4 years, and when people make the statement around here, Well, everybody already knows about it. Everybody does not know about it. It took me 4 years to come to the conclusion that that's what this was. And when I read it on Gang Stalking World, by the way, and I finally found it.
Wow.
Gang Stalking World. Actually, where I found it was on the Portland Mercury. It was on their blog, Portland Mercury. That's Portland, Oregon. And they had a description. It almost sounded like I should have written this. It was written by a Canadian kind of a guy. And he said, what is happening is you are being gang stalked, a term that's called gang stalking. And he wrote, and I've seen that term restated and rehashed many times. I've seen him paste that same text into many blogs. So he has done a great thing to help to get the word out, this guy.
Now, one of the main authorities of gang stalking is this woman named Eleanor White, and I love her comic strips. What's your personal take on her comic strips? Do you think there's crazy talk in there, or do you think it's sound? Because people who are listening are going to be grasping for straws.
Yeah, and that's Eleanor White, spelled W-H-I-T-E, I think. I like the heck out of her comic strips. She does them from like about 25 each, 25 of them from Peter the Perp standpoint, and another 25 from Tommy the T.I. or somebody like that. And it's like every one of those things, comes close to mirroring me. There are a couple of three things, and I don't want to get into what they are.
No, don't.
Because I try to avoid the far out talk. That there are a couple of three things in there though, in her Tommy the T.I. that I find a little far fetched. And if any reason that I was ever to give them any credibility, it would be because she took the time to put them in her comic strip. That, honest to God, that's the only reason that I would ever, they're so far fetched. But that's only 2 or 3 of the 25 strips. The other 25, it's like a textbook on perping. Peter the Perp from the Perp standpoint, and Tommy the T.I. from the T.I. standpoint. They're pretty good.
And also too, do you know any other authorities that would be good for beginners who are recently being stalked, who can grab onto it where there's no crazy talk?
I don't know. I don't know. The only thing regarding the crazy talk, let me just address that for a minute. If it doesn't, to the people that are out there listening, and they're going to hopefully be listening to this in 100 years, that this is public domain and it is yours. You own it. Please republish it in 100 years. But the people that are listening to it, if it's not happening to you, if it sounds wacky, it probably is. That's been my personal observation. Everything that happens to me is completely explainable. I have never found anything that I can't visualize from a realistic perspective as being real. I mean, from earthly, let's put it that way, something earthly. No, none of this wacky, woozy, far out stuff.
Now we'll start nailing some of the questions I asked in the chat room, and now we will begin with, you've heard of Leon Trotsky. He worked with Vladimir Lenin in communist Russia. He was the second in command, and he has a quote: "You may not be interested in war, but war is interested in you." And what's this have to do with gang stalking? Well, do you think that there are people who are in neutral? And I'm going to rephrase the question a little bit. Do you think people who are in neutral, but can be threatened or drafted into it? In other words, we have this scumbag over here. We don't like him, and we know that the talents you have, like being a locksmith or surveillance and so forth, we want you to fix this guy. Do you think that most people are neutral, or do you think when the screws are really turned, do you think most people would cave in, or tell them to go blank themselves, or lash out?
I think here's the deal. Just something that I know nothing about, like a locksmith. If you're a locksmith, the perps know where to find you, but you can't go out and find them. That's the first thing. And there are an endless numbers of perps out there that can harass you. So you really don't have any choice but to play ball. If you're not already a perp when you got in there, you don't really have any choice but to do what they want you to do in the first place. And then there's the guy's car, his family, his business taxes, his home. I mean, they can shaft you in any number of different ways. Essentially, if you're a locksmith, I hate to pick on them, but you're the one that brought them up, Jeff. What I'm saying is, I don't think you have any choice but to play ball. I don't. Can you trust a locksmith? I don't know. I guess you can. But if you're a target, they're going to get into your place when you're not there. God, I just hate to say that. It sounds so incredible. I'm just telling you. They want you to know that they've been there. They'll leave stuff behind. They'll move stuff around. So they, in my case, the last place I live, I don't smoke and I never have.
I don't smoke
There was
either.
a cigarette butt one time in the unsmoked in my restroom. They left it there. They wanted me to know. God, I flew off I saw that in there. I mean, I was really annoyed about that. I walked around spitting and cussing, and I was really ranked about that. But that's the effect that they wanted. I almost called the cops. I almost did, because my place had been, and I didn't do it. And it's now that when I got into, once I understood after May of 2010, once I understood about this gang stalking thing, the last thing you want to do is ever call the cops. The last thing you ever want, because they're going to say, you sound crazy, we need to send you to the funny farm, and they'll come and haul you. I really, that's never happened to me, but I have heard about it enough times that I believe it. So it's a good thing I didn't call the cops about it. Never ever call the cops if you're a TI, if you're a targeted individual. There you go.
No, this gets better. Basically, I have another question here too.
Sure.
Is why don't people think critically when they get any gossip on someone, or when a person receives gossip, why don't the average sheep take the bogus information at face value?
That's a good one. God, I can't wait to answer that question.
Yes.
There's this guy here, and I'm not even going to say his name.
No.
That has he's a perp, and he's got a show here on Talk Show about perping. Oh, we're so misunderstood and walked on and all that, he's one of the disinfo agents. But this one time I logged onto his show as a guest, and I'm just listening to him talk, and he took like 5 facts about me, and he distorted every friggin' one of them. And he did that by adding information, by leaving out facts, by distorting, it's just like 5 completely different lies, about me. Pardon me?
It's called spin.
Yeah, 5 kinds of spin. So I don't know why people, and they were good. I'm not sure if he took a class, if he got the talking points from somebody, an expert who took the class. I'm just telling you, it was totally, I'd heard that before, that about the spin about people, but it was never about me. This time, those 5, it was just like rat, tat, tat. And I don't think he knew I was listening in as a guest, or I don't think he'd have done it, but he showed me their hand. He showed me the perp hand when he did that. It was incredible. And even today, he plays so innocent. And that's the thing about the perps and many of these shows around here is they play so innocent. Oh, they hurt. Oh, I can't believe you're saying that about Chuck or Van or whatever you want to call yourself now. Oh, my God. How could you call me a perp? That hurts, man. That really, I'm telling you, he's acting.
Wow. No, because you see, I know our school system has dumbed down the generation of children, but even older people are in on this, and that's my main question, which is about thinking critically and being able to discern the BS from the truth, and calling people on their gossip, because not all gossip is true. I mean, a lot of gossip. I mean, Bruce Lee said, "Believe half of what you see and none of what you hear." And I always go by that medium when somebody says something about a person. I keep it in the back of my mind and see if there's a second and third witness and see if there's concrete proof. That's how investigators do their investigating. I mean, what?
Sure. I mean, the one thing, I mean, I concur with you there.
Yes.
But one thing that is totally amazing, because I spend a lot of time on TalkShoe.com,
yeah,
where we are now. You're interviewing me, and we're using their resources. But I spend a lot of time in the chat room and listening to the conversation, and I just see guests coming in all the time. They don't even have a login name, and that's fine if the show host wanted to enable that feature. They just have a guest. But I have seen guests, they log in like in 2s and 3s, and they slander somebody. Usually if they're slandering somebody, you know that person is probably a target.
Yeah, you're right.
There's a reason why they're doing that, and they're mobbing. They're mobbing up on them. And I'm not sure where. I guess it was that here's just a plain old guest making comments, and they sound so good.
A troll.
Yeah, they're trolls or whatever you want to call them, but they're slandering and they're mobbing. And it's incredible, and it never ends.
No, here's another good one, which is and this inspiration actually came to me. It's not in the chat room, which is a person can be sued for slander. Means something you say about a person. Let's see here. Libel is something that's written. Aren't the perps and the handlers afraid of getting their pants sued off of them if that perp or victim is able to prove that he's not all the things that they say? At the very least, to open themselves up.
I don't think they're worried about it at all. From what I've observed here, when I've been, I spend a lot of time on TalkShoe.com. From what I've observed here, anything goes. You know, pretty much it's up to the host to mute somebody if they're out of line. And I have seen usually it's guests, but even the people that aren't guests have a pseudonym login, so it could be J Doe or whatever, you know, and type stuff. And not only that, but people that know how to circumvent this system on TalkShoe, there can be 3 or 4 J Does. So, you know, I wouldn't recommend. I don't know how to do it. I don't want to know how to do it. What I'm saying though is I've seen that happen. You can actually tell, and I'm sorry to get technical here, but you can tell by the user number. I've not seen that the user numbers would be different, but most people aren't going to know enough to look at the user numbers. What I'm saying is that you can be a guest or you can be a login. It's very rare that somebody uses a real name, so pretty much anything goes here.
Yeah, I'm just throwing that out there, and I'm not even talking about TalkShoe. I'm talking about just on the street and workplace mobbing and that kind of stuff. You know, just like the guy on BMO. I don't even know his name. In fact, I mean, that guy's good. I mean, and basically, it's a video to help explain and expose a form of torture known as gang stalking. But anyways, I'm gonna get back to these questions because I really nailed some really top-notch questions out there that would benefit the people. Right here. Do you think a lot of perps are drawing a paycheck or some kind of perk for perping?
I don't know. I think the higher level ones probably are. You know, you can kind of tell who they are after a while, but you can't prove. You can never prove it. They generally drive fairly nice vehicles. I mean, the higher the ones in the higher echelons. I don't know how that works. But the one thing I do want to say, let me just say this little commercial for myself. This is Chuck. I'm on TalkShoe.com, show number 120297. You can find me there. You can find these recordings there. But I want to record. I want those perps. I want anybody, essentially TIs or perps. This show is about organized gang stalking. I do want to interview perps with real voices, not in the chat room and not with voice changers that are calling in. I'm talking about with a real voice that's not phonied up, because I'm already I already give up on the fake stuff because they game the system. But when they have to use their real voice, it's a little bit of a different deal. But I want to interview those people. I want people, maybe they went to the doctor and they know they have only X weeks or whatever to live.
Yeah.
Hopefully, while their mind is still working, they'll give me a call. I'm on here right now as of June 2012. I'm on here like every day for large chunks of the day and night. So give me a call. And if you push if you call in to this phone number that's on the screen, and let me interview you, it will be in the public domain, and it will go live.
I like yourself because you hang out and talk to. I listen to a lot of Patriot radio, conservative radio, even a lot of mainstream stuff when I get a chance. But I've kind of cut back on it. But there's a pastor named Pastor Lindsey Williams who in fact worked on the Alaskan Pipe Project, and he was a chaplain to all these elite oil men. And what's this have to do with somebody dying? When you talk about somebody who has a few more weeks to live, the thought came to my mind, which is Pastor Williams and this anonymous person who is giving him information on what's going on in the world. So I figured I'd just throw that out there, because when somebody doesn't have too long to live, or so forth, or so old they're tired of it, they do spill the beans.
When you're anybody that's out there that wants to spill the beans, you call me if you want to talk about this issue of organized stalking or gang stalking. I'm the guy to talk to, as long as it's down to earth stuff, because I will not kill the recording if it sounds legit and if you're not gaming the system. There are no other shows out on that I have seen on TalkShoe that TI, the targeted individual shows, that most of them are not legit. They're under the umbrella of FSCHS, and they're illegit. They're against targets. What I'm saying is you won't get a legitimate opportunity to be interviewed, to spill the beans. And not only that, but what will happen is perps will call in and disrupt the call. They'll start doing it in the chat room. It's incredible. But what I do when I'm doing, well, you're interviewing me, but when I push the go button, the first thing I do is shut down the chat room, so that takes the minds off of the chat room and onto the interview, because this interview is going to live 100 years. And the other thing I'm not going to do is I'm not going to destroy the interview. If it's legit, I'm not going to zap it. And that's one thing I've seen about the stinkheads at freedomschs.com is they will kill any content that gets the word out, the legitimate word out about organized stalking. That's their purpose in life, is to not get the word out about organized stalking. So,
this is why I'm banging out all these questions, because I know it's going to live forever, and I know it's going to be a textbook for future victims to at least think about this stuff. And one of the questions I put in the chat room that continues with the line of drawing a paycheck is like a promotion at work for burning a victim. So in other words, a perp burns a victim, whether it's verbally or otherwise, and then all of a sudden, lo and behold, he gets a promotion. Like there's a group of Freemasons at work. I mean, Freemasons do this in the court of law. Like if you're a lawyer, defense lawyer representing a real scumbag, that defense attorney does one of the Masonic hand signals with the judge, and that scumbag gets off the hook.
Yeah. So and you can never prove it.
No, you can never prove it unless you know the signals and know some of the phraseology they use. I mean, Freemasonry, especially in a court of law, that stuff is real.
Yeah,
But
I think so.
But anyways, let's see. What about hazard pay for the purpose because the victim lashes out? I talked about some of the legal stuff that a victim can do, especially if the victim knows a private investigator in their family, or knows a couple of really top-notch attorneys, or an Indian tribe or something like that. In other words, would they have a close knit relationship with somebody that can do some legal damage? But you know what would happen if the perp? What would happen if the victim had military training or something, and so forth, and decided to lock and load them? I'm not endorsing it. I'm not endorsing this. I'm throwing this out there as a thought for perp listening, because you know the perp will hit a victim, and that victim might be unstable. So,
yeah, well, you know, one of the things when I first started my shows back in late August of 2010, there was an endless crew of people, and they not only wanted to talk crazy, but they wanted to get me talking about, it seemed to me pretty obvious that they wanted to get me talking about anything that had to do with guns, knives, anything weird like that. They wanted to get me on the record to see if I had tendencies like that. And essentially what I did back then is I shined them on for a while, then I started to mute them. Now they don't ask so much anymore, but the perps want to get targets to incriminate themselves. And you can bet this, if there's one perp that's harassing you, there is another one that's backing him up, and he's probably filming you. So if you're a target, if you're a TI, a targeted individual, the chances of them having you on film breaking the law is really, really pretty high. I'm not a lawbreaker anyway, so I don't have to worry about that. But
oh, me neither. But and then I put in the chat room. That's why I would never be a perp, because if I was a perp, that would be going. I'm serious. That stuff would be going through my mind. Or what would happen if I was harassing a minister, for instance, who was an otherwise good person, and I know deep down inside that minister is a good person, and that you know I might not live long if I keep messing with the minister, because I might stroke of a heart attack or something. You know, you just don't touch a minister in that kind of aspect. I mean, you know, these if I was a real bad guy, thoughts like that would be going through my mind of the consequences, whether physical, mentally, or otherwise.
And yeah, let me just tell you something about those perps. I think a lot of perps are. It's not just. I mean, it's cops, it's firefighters. They're essentially paid. It's municipal workers. They're expected to participate to some degree. It's on other professions like locksmiths. It's even people in churches. You don't know that they belong in those churches. But regarding oh shoot, I lost my thought. Regarding the shoot, I lost my thought, Jeff.
Ministers? No, that's okay. I got this. A perp has to look in the mirror at his or her immoral activities and know.
That's what let me pick up where that is that those perps, you know, you may take the bait once when you're just John Q. Doe and somebody's trying to get you perp your neighbor. They want you to participate in harassment of your neighbor down the hall. But if somebody commits off themselves, you know, and you know, if you participated in that conspiracy to where they committed suicide, you are in on it. Now you participated, pal. You gotta. Now, if you believe in your maker and what have you, then one day you're gonna have some explaining to do. And if you don't knock it off right now, if you continue to participate in that sort of thing, essentially you are a killer. And what I'm saying is that I am making no holds barred that people that perp, people that participate in the harassment of other people who, first of all, they may have believed the lies. They should be smart enough to know that. But even if they weren't, you still, if you participated in the murder or the suicide of somebody else, then you got some explaining to do. And by the way, that really shuts up a lot of perps who come into this chat room when I say that.
Oh yes, because they might not know what they're doing, or
they never thought of it, that they were part of a conspiracy to kill. But that is what this program is about. They want people, for some sick reason, they want targets to off themselves. I guess they have parties. They think that's like real cool stuff. I can't even imagine the mindset that goes with that of victory, I've heard, by the way, I have heard, I'm sorry, Jeff, I'm jumping all over, but I just wanted to interject this one thought, that Satanists, from the very offset, I had heard that Satanists were involved. Not all of them, just a chunk of the people that are involved. They have covens, and there's 13 people in each, and I guess that's the maximum size. And they get off in it. That's what they look just like you and I and everybody else. You don't know who you're dealing with. Go ahead.
Well, that makes sense. I mean, a lot of corporations have witches and New Agers and stuff like that. What you're saying makes sense.
Yeah, I never would have thought so, but it's started to maybe make sense to me recently. Now that I think it's some of the stuff that they do, it's pretty incredible that a human being would do that, and they just think it's great. It's not just cats and dogs that they kill; it's literally people.
Oh, of course. I mean, William Schleblin is a good name to look at in that aspect. The former Satanist who came to Christ and so forth.
How do you spell that last name?
I can't spell it off the top of my head. I'm not going to run and grab it.
That's right. But people find it if they want to Google it.
I'm just throwing it out there. But the thing is, a lot of these workplaces have New Agers, government places have New Agers, and occultists. So what you're saying is a true statement. Now, let's see here. If perping is this bad in good times, in other words, when people are making some bacon, when people aren't feeling the pinch, stuff like that. If perping is like this in bad times, what will perping be like when the average person has no money coming in? In other words, when there's a collapse in this country, and the country goes belly up, which I believe will happen because we owe Red China our lives basically. With trillions of dollars in debt, and so forth. What would happen to the average person? Would they get worse, or would they get better?
I think possibly. I think though that probably. I can't imagine how much worse can be, but I think they'll make do. I think they're pretty bad. There's a lot of them. They're extremely well organized. It's incredible. It's above the government level. It's above state, county. It's above U.S. level. It is a worldwide protocol. There is no. I've heard the comment said. I'm jumping all over here, but I've heard the comment said, on like some TV show, some cop will say, "I'll have you followed." Why, there will be no place in this world that you can go to get away from me. You know what? There's quite a bit of truth to that, because it's all over. This organized stalking is all over the free world. It's in Canada, U.S., Australia, New Zealand. It's over in Europe.
Western industrialized countries.
And in supposedly in China and Russia and thereabouts, So evidently there is no place that you can't go. And that is the amazing thing, that when people think they're going to get away from the stalking and harassment, as I did early on before I clued into what's going on. It's called gang stalking. But before I clued into that, you think, well, if you just move, it'll go away. You know what? It won't. It will follow you. You will be harassed at the next, whether you go to a different zip code across the river, to a different state, to a different country.
But here's the caveat. When you're in the big cities, it's worse. When you leave the big cities to go out to where it's less centralized, where there's hardly any union workers or government municipal workers, where it's more farms and so forth, you're not going to get the crap.
I think there's some truth to that. I don't know because I've primarily just been in the populated area of Vancouver, Washington, and Portland, Oregon since I became a knowing target. That's where it's. But I do believe what you're saying, that when you move out and about, when you go out to the outback, there's less people. They're amazingly sophisticated people, though. They're amazing. Where are they coming up? Where are they? John Q. Doe, where are they coming up with all these friggin' people?
Well, I'll say that towards the end because of my security background and so forth. I can give some insight on that. But this is an interview with you. We're going to keep folks on the interview right here. Let's see here. Because of the financial collapse, everything evolves. I mean, you have what's called microevolution. I mean, which is an animal or a bird will adapt on a very small level to adapt to their environment. I don't believe in evolution because I'm a Christian, but born again. But when it comes to microevolution, I believe in that. And since everything evolves, where do you see perping going to in the next 20 to 30 years?
I don't know. You asked that in the chat room a while ago. I don't know.
I know, but since this is on the record, I'm throwing it out there since it's being recorded.
Sure.
And
Sure. I'm telling you, I don't see it getting any. Well, I don't know. I was going to say I don't see it getting any better, but I wouldn't be on here trying to get the word out because I am trying to get the word out to targets, to targeted individuals that don't even know they're targeted yet. They don't even know. And when they learn that they're targeted, the first thing that's going to happen is they're going to go out and find some schmuck organization like freedomschs.com. And they're going to give them their name. That'd be the worst thing you could do is give your name to somebody like that. Oh. But where is it going? There's got to be the chink in the armor. There's got to be some way to get the word out about this. Because those people out there that are stalking on the street, they're not only stalking real potential criminals, they're stalking people for revenge. You annoyed me. I'm a important person, a politician. I'm the fire department, or I work with the cops or what have you, or my brother is in this secret society or what have you. It's not just about lawbreakers, and they're using the same resources for the lawbreakers as for harassment, for getting even. They're harassing people, and they want them to know they're being harassed, and they don't want the people around them to see it. They want it to be invisible to everybody else. They'll talk. It's called directed conversation. They'll talk about
theater.
Things that you know what they're talking about, but the person nobody else will know, but you'll know they're effing with you.
Now, have you ever heard of the term called swatting? SWATING.
I heard about that the other day. Help me out a little bit. What does that mean?
Yeah, I'm typing it up on my computer. Basically, roughly, it means if a person doesn't like you, they'll call the police department and say, Vancouver just murdered somebody, and he's screaming Heil Hitler, and he's and he has blood everywhere.
So they're calling the what do you call it? The police, the SWAT unit. That's why they call it swatting.
And you'll be.
I had never heard that term before you brought it up the other night. Swatting, where they call the SWAT, the police SWAT on you. F with you.
Yes, and you'll be none of these, and you'll be sitting back there watching American Idol, eating popcorn. You'll be none of these, and all of a sudden, bang! The SWAT team comes in through your door, and you make a wrong move, and Clyde with the MP5 blows you away, and he
Yeah.
says, "Oop, oop."
Yeah, I have heard that. I have heard that term. You know, that's one thing that they do. They use legitimate resources on you.
Yeah.
It's totally amazing.
I found it right here. Swatting pranks starting around 2002 increased in the use of internet technology to carry telephone traffic, created a new practice, dialing public safety, and there's a one on conservative bloggers, and this is being aimed at conservatives, like anybody that really goes against the grain, and it says right here, Fox News, right here, but this about gang stalking, but this is part of it. I found it right here. It's so great what you can do on the internet. Conservative bloggers taking precautions over swatting attacks. Conservative bloggers are on heightened alert following a string of so-called swatting incidents and are taking precautionary measures to ensure they don't fall victim to potentially dangerous potential.
Yeah, well, if there's a way to harass somebody, that's what this program is about. That's what it's all about. Swatting is probably just another new term. Another one. What the heck is?
I'll define it. I found it right here. Fall victim to the dangerous prank as the political blogosphere prepares for the heated election season. Swatting refers to a hoax in which an anonymous...
That's right. We're on an interview here, though. That's right.
Yeah, in which an anonymous prankster falsely reports a violent crime and an unsuspecting person's home, prompting a police team to respond to the location, believing a dangerous situation is at hand.
Okay. Can we get the short version?
Yeah.
Okay, let's keep this thing going here. I'm sorry, Jeff.
I'll do that. Right here. Do you think they will? Do you think they, meaning the government, the police, stuff like that, will arrest PIs in this police state, or just plain kill them?
I don't know. I don't know if there's going to be a place to. I think we're getting there. I don't know. I don't think that. I don't know. I haven't got a thought on that.
And then right here, like a purge of PIs. Then let the rest of the average. I goofed. Basically, this has happened in history. Hitler's Germany or Stalin's Russia or the Dark Ages under the Catholic Church, and because Stalin had his purges, he purged his internal cabinet several times, even his leaders, and so forth. And this will go public, I believe, and basically this will be the signal for average people to toe the line.
Well, here's what I think. I think we have an opportunity. It hasn't happened yet. And I think we have an opportunity to get the word out about organized stalking. I think if most people knew that they were being gamed, that they were being told lies and exaggerations to perp and to harass people, I think if most people knew that, they probably wouldn't participate. You know that, and so we have an opportunity right now. In June of 2012, we have this opportunity to get the word out about this issue of organized stalking, and that these guys, you know, that it's not. They're saying you're a bad person, that people should participate in the perping of this person. He needs street justice.
Yeah.
You know. And that's what they're saying, but they're doing it to get even. They're doing it to get that person's assets, what have you. It's illegitimate.
Oh yeah. Just like the state wants the farm to run a highway through public domain, and so forth. And I found another thing I put in the chat room, which is it talks about do you think the concept of perping will be fully public? In other words, if it's fully out in the open. And the chilling effect, or the chill effect I put in, will be people saying, I cannot give my opinion because it will ruin me. Plus the sheep will say, everything is fine, the president is good, you must leave. I do not want to be stalked and then taken to a camp. I'll add concentration camp. So
yeah, I don't know if that's gonna happen or not. I just it's totally illegitimate. When it happened, when it started when my relationship started going downhill in 2005, when I started having to move many times in my RV that I was living at the time, like every 6 or 8 months, something would happen. When I finally, I can't prove it, and I don't want to get into the laundry list of things that went wrong with the RV, but lots of things went wrong with the RV. And I literally had to get rid of it and move back into an apartment. And when those things started to happen, I didn't get it. I never got it until 2010. I finally realized. And then you know what? Then the harassment increased. As soon as you discover that there's this issue called gang stalking or organized stalking or mobbing, as soon as you discover that that's not coincidence and that it's not you, it's a protocol that's being used against you. As soon as you catch on, and you like I did at the PortlandMercury.com, when I found that on gang stalking, when I found that, my harassment increased amazingly a lot. To a highest, I would call it to the highest harassment ever, if that were such a thing. And I'm changing the subject on here. What else you got there, Jeff?
Oh, no, I got plenty because I want the people out there to think.
Please.
Another thing I put out there is what causes a person, from your experience, are the handlers FBI, Homeland Security, Freemasons, big corporations with deep pockets? Who would you say would be the handler?
I don't know, but I want to interview them. I'm sorry, that's not the answer you were looking for. The answer is I don't know. I don't know who is involved in doing that. One thing I want to tell them, though, is I want to interview you, and I'm the only guy that I know. I don't know anybody else that wants to get this word out like I do. And you can find me, and you know my voice and my attitude and what have you. What I'm telling you is that everybody, all these other TI shows on TalkShoe are shills. They're dirty. They don't want to get the word out. But if you want to get the word out, I'm the guy to call. Okay. If I knew of somebody else, one day, Jeff, I hope to have that. I hope to have that. Actually, my interview number 1016 on TalkShoe show number 87161 is of guest 7, and she was a perp. I mean, she did participate in the as she said, she got a kick out of it. She participated, and I want 100 like her. But if anybody's out there and you're listening to me right now, my name is Chuck. The TalkShoe show is 120297. Give me a call anytime. Don't tell anybody that you're going to call, by the way. Do not key it into an email or anything. Don't mention it to your dog. Nobody. It's just you, yourself. You call that number 724-444-7444, and you key in 120297. That's area code 724-444-7444. Call ID number 120297, and then pound sign.
Okay.
And follow the. Well, give me a call. I'll interview you like you've never been interviewed before, and you won't be derailed by the perps who want to derail it. It happens. I'm telling you, it happens all the time. When there's a good topic on some of these TI shows, when there's something that's too good, it's getting the word out too well, somebody calls up to derail. It happens nearly every time. Go ahead, Jeff.
All the people in the chat room. Oh my goodness. I mean, we must be making a real dent here. But anyways, right here. What is the common thread? In other words, the common denominator that causes a person to be a TI? Is it A, speaking against the government? B, I'm gonna say this verbally because I'm better verbal than writing. Irritating the wrong person, or C, going to certain events like the Tea Party. or belonging to the wrong groups like the John Birch Society or any conservative or anti-government organization, what they consider subversive. I mean, and or like you said, they just want your assets. I mean, plain and simple. And personally, I hate the way they use the term vigilante justice, because when you think of vigilante, you think of some desperado that's just an evil, murderous person, and the court can't get him, as cowboy justice. And everybody knows that this guy.
Yeah, it almost sounds noble. It sounds like it's from the cowboy days, you know.
Yeah, cowboy.
But, essentially, it may have started out to be a good idea if the guy really had it coming, you know. But what I'm saying is they've subverted what it was set up for. They use and abuse, and they want your assets. You know, everything that you just said are reasons why people. And the one thing that you did leave out, though, is it's generational too. These guys are so sick; they want to wipe out your bloodline. Yeah, you don't have to believe me. I'm telling you. Anybody that's out there listening, if you don't want to believe me, then don't. I'm telling you.
I believe you because you know that makes that to me makes sense. I mean, I'm the reason why I'm throwing out the vigilante part is because when I was a kid, especially when I was a kid, I used to read comic books like The Punisher, because you know the Punisher went after bad guys, and this is why people like Charles Bronson and people like that, because the bad guys slip through the system, and you know the bad guys get.
Oh, I remember that series. I never thought of that. That was a long time ago.
Chuck, the Death Wish series, and that's why I'm throwing it out there to the audience, because that's what people think of when they think of vigilante, which is the daredevil, the Punisher.
What I'm telling you, people out there that are listening though to this,
yes,
there is a protocol in the world, and it's called organized stalking. I'm telling you, people get put on a list. Some people may deserve it because they were in prison or because they made threats about national security or what have you. But some people are put on the list out of revenge, and they don't get a trial. They just get put on a list, and they're screwed with by the same resources. And if you participate, if you're one of the neighbors down the hallway that participates against, if you're the one whose phone rings and says, okay, walk out, same time entry and exit is what it's called, walk out, just to harass the person. And to the point where the last place I lived, like literally every time, I don't care what time of day or night it was, every time I walked out and came in, there'd be somebody out there. It primarily came out of about 4 units, by the way.
No,
and when you participate in that, that's not to say that it's legitimate. Now, you may hear a story. They may show you a picture. Look at here, and he's a pedophile. They love to call everybody pedophiles. So I hear. I don't know what they're saying about me. They don't want you to know. And not only that, but if you are a neighbor down the hallway, or if you are in the block watch, the first thing they're going to tell you is, now don't talk to him. Don't compare notes, because if he hears that they call him a pedophile, he can say, that's not true, I'm not.
Exactly. Well, wait, no, because I like when I do an interview, I love getting into history. Back in medieval England, there was a group of people, and it's called the Star Chamber, and basically it was extrajudicial justice. You know, that's roughly because I want to keep the flow of this show going, not to bore people.
Sure.
But basically, look it up on Wikipedia, the Star Chamber, not the movie with Michael Douglas, though that's pretty good, and you see a modern version of the Star Chamber, but the ancient version of the Star Chamber, they basically just killed you or did some kind of extrajudicial justice, and that was the end of you. And it started, and it was but yeah, the third chamber was an English.
Well, what we have today is mobbing and stalking and harassment.
Yeah,
it's totally amazing.
That said, at the Royal Palace of Westminster until 1641, it was made up of privy councillors as well as common law judges, and supplemented the activities of the common law and equity courts in both civil and criminal matters. The court was set to ensure fair enforcement of the laws against prominent people so powerful that the ordinary courts could never convict.
And that all sounds good, and that all sounds fine and dandy, but in this case, they don't even tell the person being harassed. They don't even tell them that they were that they had their trial. They weren't invited. No, you don't know that it was a fair trial. How are you going to have a fair trial when all they want is your assets, or because they want to get even with you because you did the American thing? You spoke out about an injustice, but that got you listed. That got you harassed for the rest of your life and possibly your family too.
Oh yeah,
that's pretty rotten. And they didn't give you a trial for that.
Well, this is where the kicker is. When you read something, there's what's called the kicker, which wraps it all up. I'm seeing what I sense as the kicker. Court sessions were held in secret with no indictments, no right to appeal, no juries, no witnesses. Evidence was presented in writing. Over time, it evolved into a political weapon, a symbol of misuse and abuse of power by the English monarchy and the court.
And what term is that on? Is that on Wikipedia? What was that under, please?
Yeah, Wikipedia. Just
under what term did they search to find that, please?
Oh, the Star Chamber. That's all.
Star Chamber. Okay.
Yeah.
No, I have not heard. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Now, as I was saying before, let's see. The purpose was made public. Basically, when it comes to extrajudicial justice and so forth about speaking, you know what? The person could be killing a patriot like myself who would do no harm, who's not a threat to security, and so forth. And this is what I'd be thinking of if I was a perp, which is am I harming a fellow patriot? Am I harming an otherwise good person? I mean, because you see all these prominent people dropping dead like flies, like Andrew Breitbart and other people. There's a patriot named Chapman. I forgot his first name. I think his name is Robert Chapman, and other people like that. I mean, patriots are just dropping dead like flies,
and nobody knows why, but
natural causes like Andrew Breitbart, which is the more prominent one, died of a heart attack. But I'm just saying this off the top of my head. I mean, there are weapons that can cause, and I'm not talking the crazy talk. I'm talking poison that can cause a person to have a heart attack. I mean, these are old spy weapons used back in the 1950s. Tap.
So what else you got question-wise? What else do you want to hammer me with?
I'm sorry.
Preferably out of the blue.
No. Okay. Basically, I'm gonna wrap it up with this because I've interviewed you for a while. I just want people to think about this. There's good people out there, and also you can use your iPhone to take a picture of somebody, send that picture on Facebook, spread that portrait of the person all around, and if you're close up to the person, get an audio of what he or she is saying. These iPhones and these smartphones are very amazing devices. You can text, and depending on how good it is, you can screw a person just by taking a picture of them and getting their audio. So the surveillance is out there. You can do research on your own on the internet. And look up micro cameras and microphones. You can stick in a radio. You can buy this anywhere. This is not James Bond stuff. So we do have the technology to create the new world order.
And I am looking for the silver bullet, so to speak, from a metaphoric standpoint. I'm looking for the answer to that. I don't know, honest to God, Jeff, man, I don't have a clue what it might be, but it doesn't stop me. I do focus on a lot of things that are bad, but I am really looking for the answer to that. I don't know what it is, but if you know what it is, come to my show and tell me, please.
I forgot something, and I have to see if I covered everything. It's crazy. No. Basically, when the system does collapse, do you think that perps will just say, screw it, we have nothing more to protect? I mean, because look, the Stasi. I'm gonna give you history. You can find this on YouTube. The German Stasi in East Germany, which was based upon the Cheka of the Soviet Union, the people just got sick of it, and they had a peaceful protest, and they just barged right in, and they looked at the files of everybody that the Stasi checked up on.
And that was pre-internet. Now we have the internet, and it's a lot easier to. Now we have cell phones with everybody on the street. We have satellite surveillance.
I'm gonna look this up right. I'm gonna look this up right now because I like being factual when I talk. Stasi, East German Stasi, East, and you can find a lot of YouTube videos on the German Stasi, East German, ERMAIN, Stasi, STASI. I think I got it right here. And you know what? I mean, if the Stasi wanted to fix you, like if one of the party heads wanted your girlfriend or something like that, I mean, you'd really get screwed royally. I mean, and it was the secret police. And right here, Ministry for State Security, and that's what it stood for. And one of the more prominent people who was the head of it was Ehrlich Miki, and basically they ruined a lot of people's lives. And when people went in there and they shredded files towards the end, they shredded files, and they're still putting the files together to find out what these people did. I mean, people actually got real jail time and you know, beatings and stuff like that, and so forth. But
so have you got any other good tough questions that you want to hammer at me there, man?
I'll wrap it up with this. Like East Germany unifying with West Germany and East Germany collapsing and so forth. Right here, between 1950 and 1989, Stasi employed 274,000 people to root out the class enemy. Look this up on Wikipedia on your own.
Sure.
Do you think Americans, being spoiled as we are, when the country collapses, do you think Americans would demand to see files written off?
You know, the one thing about, you know, what I'm hearing is that it's not just people that dress nice. I mean, I'm talking about it's ex-convicts. I mean, it's homeless people. There's a lot of people that are involved in harassment and perping. You know, so it's not just your t-shirt wearing guy walking down the street. It's a lot of people, a lot of groups. It's nearly many groups. And,
I found this right here. Stasi informants by 1995, 174,000 have been identified, which is approximated 2.5 of East Germany's population between the ages of 18 and 60. This is some pretty good stuff. And there were Stasi informers and so forth. It'll actually blow your mind. And
you know, another thing that's akin to that is, you know, Martin Luther King, one of the greatest Americans that ever lived. People were perping him back in the 60s. You know, this was, yeah, and supposedly they phased it out. It was called COINTELPRO, and supposedly, but they didn't phase it out. They just renamed it, and they're still doing it. Well, it's bigger. It's more sophisticated.
You did put a memory in me. There's Operation Phoenix back in the Vietnam War, and their purpose was to root out the Viet Cong through an assassination program. And there was and you're right, COINTELPRO, and you know, Martin Luther King got assassinated too, by the way.
Yeah, that's right.
Along with Malcolm X, and
by a lot of his you know, people that would have claimed to be patriots, by a lot of people who were of his own race mobbed him and harassed him, essentially did what's happening to targeted individuals today. He was a great man, and yet look what happened to him.
And I'm saying this roughly. You also have patriots like Douglas MacArthur and people like that who died suspiciously. You know, in other words, anybody that speaks out against the government of any shape, way, or form, even if you're super high level up, they make you look like a nut, like Joseph McCarthy. So it doesn't matter whether you're on the left or whether you're on the right. I happen to be on the Christian conservative side, but they just want people to shut up, watch football, drink the beer, you know, and just do as they're told and say everything is okay.
And if you don't, they mob you. And the people that are in the mobs, the people that are participating, do not know why they're there. They don't. They may hear the story for some justification, but like I said, we'll say one more time. Once you are involved in perping somebody and that person offs themselves or dies suspiciously, you can fairly well assume that you were in on that and you participated in the conspiracy to kill, which makes you a killer. If you are a gang stalker, if you're a mobber, you're a killer. Think about it.
Oh yeah, yes, and also too, what was I about to say? Also too, I mean, I'm not going to die of suicide. I'm not the suicidal.
Me neither. I'm not ever either.
So just to say that on the record, Rick Wiles, who coined the term Arkancide, which means it's murder that looks like a suicide, and you use the term which I get a kick out of called Arkancide. Think about that one. This interview is being wrapped up. It's been roughly an hour, a little over an hour. So do with it as you wish. I hope.
This is interview number 3005, by the way, on TalkShoe.com. Show number. Oh goodness, I can't remember my show number. For crying out loud. 120297. TalkShoe.com. Show number 120297. Interview number 3005. Jeff, thanks for coming on. The best kind of the interview in my mind is one with no script. I did get like half the questions that you typed into the chat room. The rest of them I got blindsided on, and that's the best kind in my mind.
Yeah, it wasn't scripted. I just played it. I played it by ear. I don't script anything. I have a basic outline in my mind, and I just go with it. And anyways, I'll let you go. Have a good night.
Okay, and that is the end of this interview. Thank you for coming.
Talk Shoe. Recorded live.
Hello, my name is Chuck, nickname Van of Vancouver, Washington, USA. Welcome to TalkShoe.com, call number 120297. This show is being recorded, and anything that I say, well, you can consider to be in the public domain. Alda wrote the content that I'm going to read, and she did make the comment that it's very important to get the information out there, and I'll be reading that. So I don't consider that what she said is in the public domain, but please feel free to copy any part of this MP3 recording file. You do not need permission. No notification or attribution is necessary. To find more of these public domain audios, go to the top right corner of any TalkShoe.com screen and search for Vancouver or show number 120297, or click the top left purple button to see if there's a show presently underway. The time out here on the West Coast is 12:30 p.m. on Saturday, June 23, 2012. The page that I'm going to be reading is on http://sites.google.com/site/targeted-stalked-terrorized. Once again, I'll repeat that. http://sites.google.com/site/targeted-stalked-terrorized. It's entitled, "Are You the Victim or Potential Participant in Domestic Terrorism?" by state and corporate-sponsored tactics. Subnote has, this site is not complete, still being updated daily, but getting the information out there, she says, is more important than waiting for perfection. There are three columns on this that I'll be reading. The first column is this happening to you? The second column is, are you a member or of any of the following? And the third column is, are you being pressured to? So I'm going to read the first column. Is this happening to you? where neighbors, friends, coworkers, management, law enforcement, strangers, and/or retail personnel, you receive unexpected, abrupt rudeness and/or suspicious mistrust of you. Next, under is this happening to you, is sudden loss of relationships with known people, deceitful approaching, people go fishing for personal information for no reason, noticeable petty vandalism, sabotage, damage, destruction, or theft of property, repeatedly misplaced or moved items in the privacy of your own home that reappear later out of nowhere. Numerable repairs, accidents, obstructions, and delays, a sudden influx of noise and traffic, and people in your home or work area, where it did not happen before. The public, flash mobbing, Google that term, flash mobbing, or crowding with malicious, harassing intent. In the workplace, mobbing, harassing, rigged workstation, and compromised workspace. Vehicle floating box or mobbing, where you were surrounded by other vehicles who box you in, slow you down repeatedly, or pull out just as you approach. And in my case, I might add, after it happened about the fourth time, the person in front of me slammed on the brakes for no reason, causing an accident after I was tapped into her. Continuing to read on, are these... you begin to realize once or twice it's a possible coincidence, but repeated acts of stalking, harassment, sabotage, vandalism to property becomes professional tactics deployed on purpose. If so, you may be the unwitting victim of target or an innocent target by state or corporate, educational, or citizen-sponsored organized terrorist stalking. She goes on to write, have you noticed constant disturbance or trouble with telecommunications, including the landline or cell phone, increased stoppage, timeout, loss, signal or reception due to unexplained electronic interferences, cable, satellite, modem, or wireless router, abrupt and continued malfunction or complete electronic failure, household appliances included, an ongoing need to repair or replace electronics and appliances over a short period of time again and again, unexplained, amplified, solid, or repetitive, extremely high or low acoustical frequency noises. If so, you may be the victim of warrantless and due process experimental electronic warfare. The next column, entitled, are you a member or an employee of any of the following? I'm going to skip the top paragraph here, but the following are religious groups, block watches, private security companies, tourism industry, financial groups, utility companies, public health organizations, educational institutions, technology, transportation, community groups, and many more. She goes on to say, you may be asked to participate without due process, warrant, or court order, legal documentations to violate the targeted individual's fundamental basic rights and liberties guaranteed to all equally. If so, you may be the victim of a professional recruitment and manipulation of false flag operations, and that's hyperlinked, by the way, based on tainted fruit of poisonous tree, and psychological operations, abbreviated PSYOPs, spelled PSYOPS, Google that term. And because they just might be spying on you and your organization or members within, there's a couple of hyperlinks on this page that I gave the URL of earlier. One is to an ACLU, and one is to Dr. Martin Luther King link. Are you, the third column, are you being pressured to slander, disrespect, deceive, laugh at, mock, or provoke a target? Continuing to say, are you being pressured to invade the privacy or space of a target, stalking, crowding, mobbing, following, giving the target's locale away, a scene in a public setting, to participate in whisper, noise, or pointing, harassment, or setup campaigns? Are you being pressured to use keywords without knowing what they mean or what it represents to the target as they pass by, to wear the same colored clothing, to drive by or near the target's house, to walk up or stand by the target in a public setting, to make some demeaning comment about the target or others noticing that the target's state of mind? Are you being pressured to provide unpleasant, unfriendly, misleading, evasive, fraudulent information or service, to lie about the target to others, or make up stories to further victimize or facilitate the negative, false impressions about the target. Were you given the address, vehicle ID, phone number, email, photo of the target in order to complete tasks? Were you asked to drive by the target's home whenever you were in the area, or idle vehicles loudly, play music at all hours of the night, and so forth? Were you asked to show up by foot in a group, walking a dog, pushing a child in a cart, or other missions? Have you been called or text message to show up for a flash mob? Once again, Google that term, flash mob, in a public area where the target is. Were you given access to a social network or website that depicted the target in such a negative light it compelled you to join forces? Were you asked the target's private, were you asked to access the target's private account at work and to alter data in that account? Were you told to impersonate the target or a legitimate legitimate representative or company, agency, or office, knowing that it would be committing fraud? Were you bribed, threatened, or coerced in some form to harass the target? Were you told it is just for a good cause, it's for the greater good, or because the target deserved it, even though you knew you would be violating the rights or liberties of a fellow citizen? Or were you told it was just a harmless game? Do you know all of the legal reasons? Do you truly know the reasons you were asked to participate? Do you have copies of any of the documents that were presented to you? And did you take them to an unbiased outside source to validate, verify, and vet the legitimacy and the legality of the documents before you participated? Were you asked to sign a non-disclosure confidentiality statement? Were you told all of this is a secret? And if so, you may be the victim of recruitment by state or corporate, educational, citizen-sponsored, organized terrorists. And that is the end of this recording.
Talk show. Recorded live.
Hello, my name is Chuck. My nickname is Van of Vancouver, Washington, USA. Welcome to Talk Show, call number 120-297. This call is being recorded, and anything said on this call will go into the public domain. Thus, everyone is entitled and encouraged to copy and republish any part of this MP3 recording file. You do not need any permission. No notification or attribution is necessary. To find more of these public domain audios, go to the top right of any TalkShoe.com screen and search for Vancouver or 120-297, or click the purple top left Live Now button to see if the show is underway. The time out here on the west coast of the U.S. is 10:30 p.m. on Tuesday, January 26, 2012. And I might also add that in the chat room, there are some comments from this person who is going to go by the name of TapQ. And those are in the public domain, too. And TapQ, why don't you take the lead? What do you want to say?
Well, thanks for having me, Chuck. I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me this evening. And, I just kind of pick back right up where we left off before we started recording this call. I was just saying that this is a topic that is kind of new to me. I clicked on the TalkShoe link to find out kind of what a targeted individual is. And you've been, educating me, letting me know what's going on. And I'm just trying to understand more about the topic and why one might feel that they are a targeted individual, what would constitute proof that one is a targeted individual, and, why one might actually be a targeted individual. So if we can jump right back to that. Can you tell me what might be some of the reasons?
I mean, the reasons why I think, as we talked earlier, and now we're getting it in the recording here, I came up with a list one time of like eight different incidents where I was outspoken, where I might have annoyed the wrong person, and I would have been put on. What could have brought this harassment on? And I did come up with a number of people, but